Hello, good afternoon. Oh.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi, good afternoon.
good afternoon.
It's late evening for me. I'm joining from East Coast.
So it's very late there. So it's
It's 9 o'clock. Yeah, 9 o'clock here, yes.
time to. Jenna, she's also from the East Coast, but she's getting used to California time. So
Oh, okay.
any questions or anything? We'll do a little pranayama and
No, looking forward to it.
okay. So it's 6 o'clock and we'll start now. And if you'd like to join, to add your video, I see that there's 4 participants. And if you guys want to add your video, please feel free. And if you'd like to stay muted, that's fine also. So we'll start out with a prayer. And, right, so join your palms and close your eyes. Om Sahanau Vavatu Sahanau Gunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, and release the hands and open the eyes. All right. So today, what we'll do in this session is to start looking at starting a pranayama practice and seeing how a practice of pranayama can help. I'll start out by just introducing this idea of prana. It's a kind of a word, so we use it so much, but it's this, it's this energy that pervades every part of our lives, every part of this existence. Prana is what keeps everything going. So it's so much more than just a breath. A breath is just one of these manifestations of prana in our bodies. And out of all the autonomic things that we have, we have a heartbeat and we have all these different things that function in our bodies automatically. Working with the breath gives you a little bit control. It's one that we can actually access. We can access our breath and we can work with it to sort of move the energy in the body a little bit better or in a more controlled way. Maybe a practice of asana can remove blockages from the body. And so without those blockages, you have pranayama that helps you move the energy in the body. And it sort of creates a more subtle space for then meditation to take place. So that you can answer maybe more subtle questions in your meditation after strengthening the nervous system and the body with pranayama. A pranayama practice is ideally done with an empty stomach. So there should be maybe at least 4 hours before the last meal was taken. So when you wake up in the morning after, brushing your teeth and having all that routine, doing the pranayama practice then is the best. If you have an asana practice or you do a few poses, it would be nice to do those before pranayama, not after. Pranayama sort of soothes the nervous system. So a strenuous practice where you're shaking after, where you've had a workout, you might want to wait an hour or 2. But if it's a normal practice and you feel fine, do Shavasana. Maybe 10 minutes later, you can start your pranayama practice. Doing pranayama at night is great, as long as it's before dinner, or maybe a few hours after dinner. All right, but for terms of the class, it's fine. Okay, so we'll start out doing a few asanas to get sort of maybe to release some blockages or to start this idea of pranayama. So if we can all stand up, find a spot where you can stand up in Tadasana. So here we stand up, both feet. If you can see me, let me maybe pin this video so you can see a little bit better. I'll spotlight the video. Okay, and if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat, or if you need to press the space bar and say something, that's totally fine. Okay, so we stand here in Tadasana, and the first thing that I would like to show, maybe to have you do, if you want to start a practice and something simple that you can do that's very, very effective in the morning, in the afternoon, whatever time. So we're gonna stand straight, so the hips are in line with the heels. If I were to extend a line here, my hips and my heels are aligned so that I don't have my legs open too far apart or too close together. All right, so here, and I relax the belly and I lift the chest, and I have both hands in front of me like this. Okay, so both arms are out, and I keep my hands extended. If I want, I can lightly touch my elbows to the wall, and I'm going to lift my legs. So I'm lifting the legs up, and I'm not dropping the chest. So I lift the legs and keep the chest lifted. All right, so I do this for a few minutes. I'll time it. We'll do 3 sets of 30 seconds. Okay. Right. So here we go, everybody. Put hands out. If you want to hold the chin mudra or mudra, that's perfectly fine. And we'll march. So we have about 10 more seconds. So the first one we'll just march. So you're preventing my chest to come down. And breathe in through the nose and breathe out. So here I'm softening the belly, giving my body a little bit of sort of movement, getting the body to move so that you're not falling asleep in pranayama. All right, and go ahead and stop. And then you can put your hands to your heart, and you can inhale, soften the belly. So inhale, soften this abdominal area. And exhale, keeping the chest lifted. So again, we're not dropping the chest, right? So moving side to side is fine. Keep the chest lifted. And we'll do it one more time, 2 more times. So ready, one more time, lift the legs. And here, practice keeping the chest lifted. So if I was pressing Jenna's shoulders down, she's gonna lift, without lifting her shoulders, she's just gonna lift right here, this little point in between the clavicles. So if I had a hand here, you lift the chest, keep the chest lifted. This is one of the main actions in pranayama, is to keep that chest lifted so that as we're breathing out, we're not dropping the chest. Okay, so inhale, lift the chest, soften the belly. Okay, 10 more seconds. All right, and go ahead and stop. And if you have a wall near you and you would like maybe to rest, you can put both hands and rest your head on the wall for a few breaths. Or sit here with, Tadasana feet, hip width apart. Lift the chest. Exhale, keep the chest lifted. So you inhale, keep the chest lifted. Exhale, keep lifting the chest as you exhale. And be careful not to curve the back too much, so we're not arching the back. We're just inhaling and exhaling, keeping this little point in between the clavicles. So if you see both of your clavicles, there's a little notch. We'll do this marching one more time. And here, if I place my finger right on that notch in between the clavicles and Jenna starts to march, she's lifting the chest. So keep the chest lifted. And it's quite hard. So inhale and exhale, and without hardening eyes, ears, or throat, lift the chest as you march. So slowly the body becomes stronger and more able to just keep that lift at all times. So if you were walking, keep the lift. Soften the belly. So at first we maintain this lift by hardening the stomach. We maintain the lift by hardening the eyes, the ears, the throat. Perhaps maybe the tongue is glued to the roof of the mouth, so relax the tongue, eyes, ears, throat, keep the lift. It's almost as if both lungs were filled with helium, and these lungs are sort of levitating the body so that the top part of the body is sort of suspended. Another way you can think of it is maybe 2 divine hands holding the lungs up. So when you march, it's almost you know, it's like sort of kind of like a divine lift you're feeling here. And this chest stays lifted as you march, and we don't collapse the chest. All right, go ahead and we'll stop the march. Stand in Tadasana and take a few breaths. So if you close your eyes and you have your hands to your side, notice the eyes, any strain in the eyes, release the strain in the eyes, release the strain in the throat. In the ears, you almost feel the ears sort of let go and the chest lifts. If you like the visual of a, you know, of divine hands, you know, supporting the both lungs, lobes of the lung, to keep that, you know, inner lift of the chest, you can think of that. So take 2 or 3 full breaths here, where you inhale, the chest is lifted, you maintain the lift, and you exhale. And this you can practice while walking, while sitting down at work, you know, in your desk working, you know, as much as you can. Every exhale, you maintain the lift. All right. So what we'll do next, and I'm just going to check on time because I know we have a short amount of time. If you have a chair, and it doesn't have to be a chair, it can be any sort of furniture that you have that's steady and that's not going to slide or slip. We start practicing this opening of the chest. So can I, yes, let me see, okay. So what we're going to do is just lay down here, so head to this side and feet to that side. So you're starting to put both feet on the chair. So I'll give you a moment if you need to go get a piece of furniture or if you have a couch ready. So we start out sitting like this. Okay, so I'll give you a minute or 2 to find a prop. And if you don't have a chair available, you can use a wall. You can put your feet to the wall, that's fine. So I'll have you come a little bit closer to the chair, and I'll put your feet flat on the chair. Or like that side. And lift your hips. So come even closer and lift the hips a little. So almost like you're in shoulder stand position. So this is a nice way, if your neck is hurting, you could support the shoulders. You can put maybe a height of 2 blankets underneath the shoulder. But if this is a place where you're, you know, just don't turn the neck. Once you're here, keep the neck straight. And so she's coming here, and the skin of the back is being, you know, the traction of the mat is rotating the skin behind her body so that this skin is coming up. All right, so here we sort of train the chest to open, and you can see she's bringing the chest to the chin, not the chin to the chest. So there's this Jalandhara Bandha that you can, you know, start working towards, but never bringing the chin to the chest comes to the chin. And so here, the first few seconds, there's a lot of tension in the neck. Again, tension in the eyes, the ears, the throat, tension in the belly. So the first breath or 2, you notice all of this kind of contraction, and then you start releasing the eyes, the ears, the throat, the belly, and then you lift the chest here. Lift the chest very gently. These movements are tiny, micro movements, right? Nothing harsh. So pranayama, you start, you know, noticing these blockages, and you release them by breathing into them. So this is a great way to start opening the chest before pranayama. So not too many forward bends before pranayama practice. So here, 2 or 3 times, inhale and exhale, and every time you inhale, soften the eyes, the ears, the throat. If this is too much, if this position is too much, by all means, you don't have to come up so much. So you push against the wall, and every day a little bit more, making sure that almost no tension is being accumulated in the neck. If it is, go ahead and come down. We can do it with a bolster. So inhale as you exhale, go ahead and come down. Just slowly coming down. And I'll show you another way that you can do this. If the chair is too much, if that's too intense, then we can use a bolster. And so I'll have you roll to your side real quick, and then we'll put this bolster here, and the shoulders will go on the floor, and then you can rest on the bolster. You can start opening the chest like that. So you can use, a pillow or some kind of a firm pillow or 3 or 4 blankets folded together, and you can use that to lay down. So shoulders on the ground, and you can use, you can push your feet, the feet away from you, rolling the skin of the back so that the skin is coming towards the sacrum. Okay, and so here it's a great pose. I'll give you a few minutes to find a bolster or a bench or a block even. And if you lay here, you see how slowly you start releasing the muscles of the abdomen, of the stomach, eyes, ears, throat, opening the front of the body for pranayama. So again, you keep releasing the eyes, the ears, the throat, and then release the muscles of the abdomen and lift the chest. So continuously lifting the chest. If you think of this point in between the 2 clavicles, you bring that point up. So in a laying down position, you're not bringing this point up to the ceiling, but towards the wall behind her head. So here, this little point in between the clavicles will go towards the head, so up. If you have any questions at this point and you would like to show me your setup, let me know. If not, take a few more breaths here. So make sure that in doing pranayama, also pranayama is not just an automatic breathing, right? It's this this process that helps regulate this flow of prana in the body. So anytime pranayama starts, especially, if depending on how the day went, the main thing that will interrupt your pranayama are your own thoughts. And so in the beginning, it's almost like a meditation of just watching the movement of the mind, watching the movement of the thoughts. And you can tell the thought, you don't want to engage. You say, okay, thought, I see you, I hear you, sit down and wait. And a great way to do that is to chant in your head while you're in pranayama. So you can chant on the inhale and the same chant on the exhale. And at first it's very hard. You even start thinking while chanting, but slowly you teach the mind to start to chant. All right, so we're gonna roll to the right and come out of our support. I'm sure that we've seen a lot of different ways to do pranayama, and Nadu showed that is maybe the most known. But I would recommend not starting here. There's usually so much tension, and starting here could just add more tension. So even taking an inhale and figuring out if the arm is coming up or not, and then collapsing the chest and all of that, it's a very hard place to start. And usually it becomes more automatic. So I would recommend start pranayama laying down. And you can even, I'll show you how to fold a blanket. If not, you can use a bolster, that's fine. So if we come out of the pose and just sit in a comfortable position, I'll spend maybe 5 minutes and I'll show you how to fold a blanket. So sit in a comfortable position. As you get up to sit down, and I know we're staring at a screen, soften the eyes, the ears, and the throat. And notice as you came up, was there a hardness in the eyes and the ears and the throat? And so we slowly, gently, and mainly lovingly start teaching every movement, every intention that you have, do it out of a place of, out of love. So keeping the eyes, the ears, and the throat soft, as if, we had no agenda, nothing to do after this, right? So, all right, if you have a blanket, you may grab it. And if there's a cotton blanket or a wool blanket, those are the best. Sometimes we just don't have access to blankets like this anymore, but as long as it's not a slippery blanket, if it has some kind of a grip to it. If not, and you have a bolster or, another thing that works really well is towels. So if you'd like, even one big towel would be great. And then I will show you how to fold it. Okay. So, folding the blanket is an art, and this becomes your temple. Okay, so you fold the blanket with care and as best as you can, and then you can have this place that you can keep the blanket there, so you don't need to refold it every day. And then your imprint starts coming into the blanket, and then you need to adjust it a little bit, but you can keep it in a little spot ready. So you wake up and you can just do it. All right. All right, so if you have a blanket, if you can see, fold it like this. And I have this folded edge here. So I'm gonna fold along this folded edge. And then the edge, where all the parts are, I'm just gonna leave that. And I wanna fold it so it's in shape of a pyramid. All right, so I get my chest length and I divide it into 3. Okay, so I want the skinniest part of the pyramid of this blanket that I'll fold to be about the width of this middle third of the chest. All right, so I have these, and if ever one day I'm feeling sick or I'm really tired and get enough sleep, then I make the blanket wider so it supports more of my back. Okay, so I'm gonna go for about a third. Then go ahead and fold this blanket. Takes sometimes a few tries. Without any bumps, as even as I can. Okay. So here it is. So it's kind of like this, you fold it, and then you fold it again, and you have sort of an even little pyramid. Okay, and this side can hang out like this as well. All right. So any questions folding the blanket, or you can see how a towel would be great here. So if you have a height, this is how you would do laying down pranayama. Okay. So we'll do a few minutes laying down in pranayama. And if you don't have a blanket or a towel and you're in a place where you can't get, it's fine. Just lay down on the floor. It's not a big deal. Okay, and usually what I'll need is a little support for the head, and I'll show you how to do. We just fold a blanket and put it here for your head. Okay, so this end, all my ends are nice and flat here, and this is it's a little bit more than a third, but about a third of my chest. Okay, all right. So here we go. So these practices kind of help you prepare the body for pranayama. Okay, so once I lay in the blanket, I'll think of a few things. First is lifting the chest. And second is, if I have a belt, if I imagine a belt, or I can just use my hands like this, but I'll use a belt. I wrapped the belt around my rib cage like this. And when I breathe, I want to be able to breathe so that my rib cages come out to the side. So you can lay on a belt, and for a few years, it's nice to practice, or maybe once or twice a week from your practice. So you inhale, and the belt widens, exhale, and then the belt comes out, but the chest stays lifted. So you inhale, and it's almost like we can use the nose to pump the air in. But here what you want to do is you want to open the chest, create the space so that the breath can come in. So versus initiating it from sort of the nose, this area, we're opening the chest so that the air can come in. And we don't do this forcefully, right? So we start out doing it gently, doing it every day. If you have to stop for a few days, just remember that you cannot go back to the same intensity that you were doing. So you have to sort of come back to step 1. Lay down again, do it slowly. Otherwise you can injure the lungs. So that's a counterindication of pranayama. Don't do it too hard. And if you have a practice where you're getting stronger and stronger, please remember, if you take a break, come back and start slowly again. You don't have the same kind of pain sensors in the lung that you would in other parts of the body, so that if you do push it too much, you won't know until you really start getting shortness of breath or, you know, some kind of complication. All right, so Jen, if you'd like to lay down, and we'll lay down like this. So if you have your blankets ready, she'll lay down right in front of the blanket and then put your thumbs behind you, one thumb on each side of your sacrum, and so that you can tell where that midpoint is, so that you're not sitting on one side or the other. And then again, with your thumb there, so you put one thumb on each side and you line the blankets up with your thumb, and then you go ahead and you lay down. And you can bend your knees, so feet are flat on the mat. Push the mat away from you so that you start bringing the skin of the shoulder back like this, right? So you start out like this, and you traction with your feet a little bit so that that skin is taut going down towards the sacrum, right? So the skin of the back is being moved down. The way you position the head is you think of a lake. If all of the face were a lake, you don't want it to spill on either end. So here, she doesn't really need a blanket, unless you want it at like a maybe 1 inch, or you're okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So if the chin is pointing down or pointing up, then you would correct that with a blanket. You can see here, if it was a level lake, it'd be okay, right? So I'll have her try the belt. So she can hold the belt like this. And if you are laying down, I can give you, so I can show you on Jenna for a moment. And I'll do two more demonstrations, and then you can do it yourself, so that you don't have to turn the head. So here she is sitting on the blanket, lay on the blanket, and then you can straighten your leg one at a time. So legs are straight for pranayama. Yeah. Okay. And then here, take a few breaths when you're here and relax the eyes, the ears, and the throat. And then start breathing into the belt. So you inhale and you feel like there's more lateral movement than up and down movement of the belly. All right. Sometimes it's a great idea to place a sandbag here, a light sandbag on the belly, and then you minimize that movement up and down from the sandbag. So use the belt. If you don't have a belt, you can use a scarf or a sari, or something. We have this. You can put this, and you can use that also to help. Okay, so she's slowly breathing. The second thing that I'll show you before you lay down on your prop is, I'm going to come behind you, and then I'll touch your collarbones. Okay, so I come here. Okay, so that you can see. All right, and let me know if you need more, if you need to see this in a different angle. But if I come here and I put my thumbs on her clavicles, when we were doing the leg lifts in the beginning, and I mentioned that we keep the chest lifted, right? So here I have my thumbs in her collarbones, and when she inhales, she thinks of this conveyor belt image of the skin of the front coming here over. If I press a little bit with my thumbs, the skin would come over, and then it would roll down into the crease of the neck. It would go back down towards the body. So it's almost like a conveyor belt that never stops. So she lifts the chest, keeping the shoulders down. And then as she exhales, she keeps this chest lifted so that the pressure, this lift here of the chest remains as she exhales. And it's not something that should bring any strain. So you do it, you lift 0.5 millimeter, and you exhale and you maintain that lift as much as possible, but without creating any strain in the eyes, the ears, the throat, the belly. And then as much as you can, keeping the skin of the back going down towards the sacrum. So if everybody has a place to lay down, go ahead and lay down on your mat or on a carpet. If you have your towel set up, go ahead and lay down on the blanket or on the support. If you don't have a belt available or a scarf, you can use your hands, where you just place your hands around the rib cage and feel the hands expanding out as you breathe in, maintaining sort of that space. All right, so lay down, adjust the head so that the head is sort of at a level position, a relaxed position, and take a few breaths where you're expanding the ribs to the side. If I had two handles here, I would push these two handles out. All right, and this is all done gently, right? We're not adding any new strain. The foundation, the one rule that you never break is bringing strain to the eyes, the ears, or the throat. Everything else falls into its place with time. So we come here. And as you lay down, you soften the eyes even more. And then maybe to-do list thoughts come in. So we chant, you can chant whatever chant you like. You can say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And then you breathe out Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Or your favorite chant, whatever it may be. It works, I think, subtly a little bit different than counting. There's nothing wrong with counting, but maybe a chant is it's nice too. So here you're expanding the belt and expand. So once you work that, you start teaching the body the way it should go, and then you do it for a few breaths. Chant, soften the eyes, and then go ahead and let go of the belt, so that you don't start adding too much strain. So here you're just showing the body a feeling. Even if you have a light pillow and you want to put it in sort of the belly area, so that pillow is not moving up or down. It's sort of staying, and it's going to move up and down. So it's not a problem. It's just observing that there is a possibility for the chest to move outwards a little bit. Okay, so now laying here in pranayama, what I'll have you do is, with the eyes closed, think of, so you're inhaling and exhaling through the nose. So we're not using the mouth. You inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose. As you exhale, start sort of widening the rib cage to the sides, and then breathing out. We put a lot of importance in relaxing these facial muscles. Okay, so as you start relaxing the facial muscles, it helps sort of have them lose their grip on the organs of perception. So sight, hearing, the eyes, the ears, the throat, and of course then the belly. So as these organs of perception get more and more and more relaxed, as they release all this tension, the brain also relaxes, right? So then we are doing this without adding any tension to the brain. So if you put your sort of attention to the back of the head, the occipital area, this reticular formation of the back, it's in the back of the head. Release the eyes, release the back of the head. All right. So we have the mechanics of pranayama, where we're starting to breathe by widening the rib cage. Most importantly, lifting the chest. So without the help of the belt, think of that feeling of the belt, and inhale and lift the chest, almost as if it's a conveyor belt that pushes the skin of the front of the body up over the clavicles and then back down. If there were a hollow space around the neck, that conveyor belt goes down under that space. So it's always lifting. And the skin of the back is coming down like a big waterfall towards the sacrum. And at first, maybe there's some tension in the shoulders, maybe tension in the arms. Then breathe and release that tension, and then continue to lift the chest. if that visual of the two divine hands lifting the lungs help, you can use that. Sort of, it's lifting the lungs towards the collarbones, towards the top of the head, keeping the chest lifted. So inhale, soften the eyes, the ears, the throat, soften the belly. As you exhale, maintain that lift. It's a gentle, subtle, divine lift, not a muscular effort. Again, soften the eyes, the ears, the throat, and chant. Chant so that not even the vocal cords move. You're chanting with the mind. And the vocal cords want to move, and you remind yourself you're just chanting silently. It's a silent Om Namo chant. So take about 1 or 2 more breaths where you find your own rhythm. So you say, okay, I will use the belt for 1 breath, lift the chest the next round, and then I'll remember, okay, soften the eyes, the ears, and then the throat. And you make a cycle where you pick your favorite things that you want to work on, and you work on those. All right. With your eyes closed, enjoying the breath, almost as if you were drinking the breath, not sipping the breath. So take an inhale and have this attitude that almost every single cell in the lung and eventually every cell in the body is welcoming the air. Like if it were, a very dear friend, very dear visitor coming, and you're welcoming this air. And we have the opportunity to do this, every few seconds. So as if you would inhale, welcome the air, welcome the prana, and then expand the ribs, right? Slowly creating the strength and the ability for the rib cage, the lungs, all to work together. So if this is sort of a new thing, go at it slowly, go at it with a lot of care, and every now and then forget about every single instruction and welcome the air. Every single cell in the lung is incredibly just receptive to this breath coming in. Sometimes if the blanket is too high, the arms start falling asleep. So you can put the arms up on a little height too, but it does go away. Feel the relaxed brain, so the relaxed eyes, ears, throat, the tongue is relaxed and it's resting on the bottom of the mouth. And every breath, every time the eye relaxes, this back area of the brain also releases. So take a few more breaths like that. We'll be in here for a few more minutes. And anytime that you feel that, maybe you are tired and you're laying down and you're going to fall asleep, chant. And chant one more time. So chant with an inhale and chant on the exhale. You can chant the Gayatri also. And chant in your mind. So you're not moving the mouth, you're not moving the vocal cords. It's not affecting sort of this flow of prana coming in and out, but the chant is in the mind. And you're offering this, All right. So with one more breath, breathing deeply in and out, start thinking of the eye. So I'll have you here think of something beautiful and non-threatening. For example, if you are waking up in the morning and it's a beautiful warm morning, there's sort of dew outside in a garden and you see, this beautiful flower blooming. So it's just the first morning light and you're sitting there and it's absolutely beautiful and safe. There's going to be a certain quality to the lens of the eye as you're laying there. So the eye literally feels zero threat. It's not cold, it's not hungry, there's nothing else going on. It's this complete sense of just softness in the lens of the eye. So hold on to that feeling of softness. And here I usually give you the counter example just so that sometimes by doing the wrong action a little bit, you can sense the correct action a little bit better. So if you were to have the opposite example where you're walking down the street and you see an act of violence, or you see, something happening that it's very threatening, and you see a robbery taking place right in front of you, there's going to be a very protective, very different quality to the lens of the eye at that point, right? There's going to be sort of tension and hardness, and that would be the contrast. So let's go back to our example with the flower, or looking at a little baby for the first time, as a mother holding your child and looking at that little face, or a loved family member. There's many different experiences in our existence where we have this quality of softness in the lens of the eye. So whatever it is that that you can think of that, and that quality of the lens of the eyes helps teach you how to soften the eye. Soften the eye, the ear, the throat. That same quality of softness in the eye you can have on the ear. And then it all goes back from the eye, almost like a thread that goes from the eye to the back of the head. Release the back of the head. And go on releasing these organs of perception. The more memories, the more we see, we almost have this automatic, when we see something, that image is almost memorized in our, on the eye, on the lens of the eye. Almost like, we have to sort of shake that memory out so that when you see, you really do see. It's not just, so many times I see, I don't know, a common object and you don't really see it. You just know it's there because that memory is stored there. So see everything fresh. Keep the eye soft. Even in an argument, with a family member, maybe if you soften during this COVID time, if you soften the eye while having an argument, maybe the argument will come to a halt. Or any kind of stressful situation. So softening the eye, and go on softening the eye. All right, we have a few minutes left. So for this pranayama practice, we use the belt, we use a sandbag on the stomach, and we can work on so many things, and we see how every aspect of pranayama we use, while the first few times you implement it, there's an immediate hardness that happens in the eyes, the ears, the throat, tension in the abdomen. So the first thing to do is take a few breaths and go on releasing those. And then go on lifting the chest and lifting the chest and lifting the chest. And it's a beautiful process. So you sort of develop your rhythm in lifting the chest, softening the belly, softening the legs. And then once or twice a week, you can breathe into the lungs, where you breathe in into maximum capacity and then breathe out. So if you'd like to try that, you can, if you have the belts with you, you can use the belt and you can gently add a little pressure to your belt, and you can inhale and go on inhaling. And then slowly release, exhale. And you do it a few times and see when you do it, don't allow the eyes, the ears, or the throat to harden. So if you're going to push the boundary just a little bit and breathe in a little bit deeper than you would regularly, and then breathe in a little more and then a little more, do it without hardening the eyes, the ears, and the throat. And that's a way to keep the practice safe, okay, without any injury. So keeping the eyes very soft, see that every time that you inhale, when you inhale or exhale, the skin of the back or the lobes of the lung are not pushing down, meaning puffing out on the back, right? It's almost like as if I had my hand behind your back, I would have a feeling that my hand is being sucked in from the back. The back is sort of sucking the hand in towards the front of the body. So there is no pushing, this feeling here of the hand being sucked into the back of the body, not being pushed down towards the floor. So suck the hands in, lift the chest, and soften the ears, the eyes, and the throat. And doing this practice for a few months really starts giving the body the sense of lifting the chest, of expanding the ribs to the side, and slowly getting you ready to come to maybe a halfway sitting up position and eventually to full sitting. Lift the chest. So here, take 10 breaths where I will keep quiet. And with these 10 breaths, so think of maybe 20 chants. So at your own pace, you'll chant on the way in and pick any of the aspects that we were working on. We have about 10 minutes left of class. And so pick your favorite ones, be it maintaining that softness in the eye, or lifting the chest, or expanding the ribs to the side. One of the aspects, or if you can include all of them, however you'd like to do it, and chant on your way, inhaling, and chant exhaling. Any of the aspects that you want to use are fine, as long as eyes, ears, and throat are soft. So inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, keep the chest lifted. Slowly exhale. If a thought comes, watch the movement of the mind. And as you do this for months and months and months on end, you will see that the movement of the mind is almost very predictable. You'll be so used to it, the thought will just sit down and wait until you're finished. So don't worry. To-do list comes up. All kinds of things come up when your mind finally has a moment to just be still. So chant. As you chant, thoughts start coming up maybe. Watch the movement of the mind, meaning watch the pattern of the thoughts. Just watch. Don't hold on to anything. If something comes up, like an answer to a question you might be thinking about for a long, anything, any new discovery comes up, let it go. It'll be waiting for you at the end of the practice. Sometimes we feel a blockage. There's a tightness in the stomach. Breathe into that blockage. Just send all the prana, all of the air into that blockage. So inhale, using your chant. You can watch the movement of the mind. Just say, I see you. I see this thought that keeps coming back. It's fine. and then chant on your way out, no problem. With every inhale, you're nourishing the body, you're distributing the prana throughout the body. The asana removes the blockages. The pranayama sort of moves that prana through the body, through the nadis, through the, also nerves, nervous system, everything else. Distributing the energy. So inhale, soften the eyes, ears, throat. Release any tension in the brain. And exhale. Thinking of that little point in between the clavicles. Keep that little point, this Vishuddhi chakra, or this point of the neck here. Keep that point very soft. Zero puffiness here around the neck. Reduce any puffiness in this point in between the clavicles. So inhale, this point is deep and soft and free of any tension. So inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, keep the lift of the chest and release the air. Exhaling sometimes almost feels a little bit more, it has to come out faster, but that with time that also goes. We'll be here for about 2 more minutes. Release any tension in the brain. Remembering your chant on the way in and a chant on the way back. And breathing with the sensation that every cell in the body, every cell in the throat, in the lung, is welcoming the air. If you are, if you don't want to fall asleep and you can't help it, maybe use the belt and use another, give the body another cue onto how to breathe with the sideways movement of the rib cage. And if any tense spots in the body start showing up, don't worry, just softening the eyes, ears, and throat. Bring the breath to that area where the tensions come up. So there's this tremendous amount of willpower to become a master of oneself. But be very clear that in this willpower, it's not a sort of like a military compulsion to do something. You do it frequently and you're committed to it, but you do it out of love with a feeling that there's all the time in the world to figure this out, all the time in the world to sit here for a moment and to just little by little become more and more perceptive of the flow of the prana in the body. Prana. Okay, so slowly start bringing the breath back to, I'm going to remove the sandbag here, and just start bringing the breath back to normal. So without having to expand it sideways or anything like that, just bring breath back to the belly, where the belly's coming up and down. All right, and if you'd like, you can cover your eyes and you can open your eyes within the palms of your hands so that if there's bright light is not shocking the eye in any way. All right, and then very carefully roll to the right. And you're going to come out of the blanket support. So sit carefully up. And then after pranayama, yes, we've been laying down to do pranayama, but at the same time, it is kind of a lot of work for the body. So it's always recommended to do at least a few minutes of shavasana after pranayama. If you have any questions or if you want to add anything to the chat, please, you can do that now if you'd like. And then go ahead and remove the blanket, or if you were going to leave your blanket, you can lay for shavasana somewhere else, and then lay flat on the mat for shavasana for a few breaths. So find your place in Shavasana. And here laying down pranayama is not Shavasana. So pranayama, you're actively, without it, although, in asana you have more strain. You're doing things with more strength. You're literally doing, following orders and doing a pose. With pranayama, you are also expanding the lungs. You're working on all of this. In Shavasana, you're just a witness. So here is where you're really not doing anything. You're just watching the effects of what you just did, which is so important. So in Shavasana, you lay down, you adjust yourself as much as you want. So again, the skin of the back also comes down towards the sacrum. You release the belly, you release the groins, the eyes, the ears, the throat. Same, with asana too. Asana, you release the eyes, the ears, and the throat. But here in Shavasana, you're finally not actively doing anything. In Shavasana, you're breathing so that the breathing is just a normal breathing. So you're not lifting the lungs, you're not, you want to be in a position where the chest is not collapsed, but you're just allowing the belly to come up and down. And you are the witness. And the witness, a nice way to sort of think of that is, you have this ocean. And in our oceans, we have waves. And each wave has an identity, right? We have very large waves. We have powerful waves, cold waves, glacial waves, Caribbean waves, Pacific, Atlantic, whatever, every kind of shape. Each wave has its own identity. Each wave has its own distance it travels, each path. But if a wave is in a state of Shavasana, the wave realizes that it's but the ocean. It's no longer an Atlantic Ocean wave, an Indian Ocean wave, whatever. It's the ocean. It's the very water. And that water is still, it doesn't need to crash, it doesn't need to roll, it doesn't need a size, it's just water. So in the state of Shavasana, you're that witness, you're that water. So notice any kind of sensations from pranayama, and then you just let all of those mental notes go. Don't hold on to anything in Shavasana. Right? If there's any tension in the lower back and you want to add a bolster underneath the knees, it's a good way to relieve that tension too. So if laying on that blanket kind of it's something that the back is not used to doing, just put a little bit of height underneath the knees. And that's also a good way to do Shavasana. Another suggestion is if you have any kind of weight, you can put it on top of the thighs too. All right. So we've come to the top of the hour. Take a few more deep breaths in Shavasana. And when you're ready, roll to the right and come up. Right, thank you very much. Thank you, Jenna. And please let me know if there are any questions. Have a great night. And namaste.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I had one question though. So this is my first of a kind of this pranayama that I've experienced, and there are so many subtle things that you mentioned. So one thing, when I was trying to hold a belt around my rib and do that, so the lateral movement I could feel only when I was inhaling, but I thought you said I should feel it on the way out, exhaling or inhaling.
Just feel it on the inhale. Don't worry about the
Okay,
exhale.
on the inhale. Okay, that's what I felt. I didn't feel it on the exhale. I was feeling the lateral movement on the inhale. Okay, all right.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
and lift the chest, but
Lift the chest up. Yeah, yeah, there were so many subtle things and I was trying my best, but yeah, it was very soothing though. Thank you so much. Great experience.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Namaste.
you.
Yeah, have a good evening.
Thank you so much. It was great.
Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful session. Namaste.
Bye-bye. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Okay.